More evidence that the next Xbox is going to be running multiple PC stores like Steam on the next console. Helldivers 2 looks like it is selling very well on Xbox. In fact, selling more than it did on PlayStation in its first 6 days since its release. Dragon Age Valor gets a huge boost because of Game Pass. Hollow Knight Silksong, a resounding success right off of the bat, crashing store. So we will talk about that plus some other things before we do get into it. If you do enjoy daily gaming news and content, make sure to hit the subscribe button. It really does help get the channel out there to more people as I put out these videos every single day at 8 a.m. But for now, let's get into the news. So with the industry, with Xbox and PlayStation specifically going multi-platform, one of the major things here is which console between Xbox and PlayStation is going to give you more games, what's going to give you more access to games no matter where you own them. Right now, it is absolutely pointing towards Xbox. Not only are there games available already on PC, not only are they giving you that access to play your games on any device via cloud streaming, it looks like going forward, as we're seeing with the updates to the Xbox app on PC, that they are going to be integrating all of these PC storefronts so you can play your games even if they aren't the Xbox versions of those games. Specifically, the big one obviously would be Steam landing on to the Xbox console itself, but GOG, we're seeing the integration as well. GOG integrated their platform with Xbox. You can log in via your Xbox account. And I think all this is pointing towards a very good future here for gamers who will not be held back here by any more of these fake barriers that these companies have put up with the whole exclusivity push. And we have more information here from Kepler L2 and this article here talking about the future of the Xbox consoles, the PC stores like Steam and GOG, and reportedly here, the next-gen Xbox can run these stores. Something that we've talked about a lot here has not been confirmed, but as more information does come out on the next-gen Xboxes, the more likelihood that this is going to occur, which is going to be a massive selling point, I think, here for the hardware itself. It says here, according to the known leaker Kepler L2, the AMD chip powering the next generation of Xbox consoles, codename Magnus, will also be used to power Xbox branded gaming PCs. And the leaker notes that only the console itself will feature the backwards compatibility with the older Xbox games. And it notes that since the underlying chip powering the hardware is the same between the Xbox console and the Xbox branded PCs, that the console is also expected to be able to run other PC gaming storefronts like Steam and GOG. They say due to this causing a fundamental change in the console business model, the next Xbox could end up costing around twice as much as the PlayStation 6. So we kind of already have talked about this, the pricing, where would they go with the price of the Xbox console? Twice as much does seem a little bit absurd depending on where the PlayStation 6 does come in, because I just don't see them pushing over $1,000 here for a console made by Microsoft and Xbox themselves. Maybe there will be Xbox third-party devices that are extremely powerful, have the highest end GPUs and everything in them, and they are over $1,000 for the people who want those products, who want the highest cutting edge technology. And then you can potentially upgrade those as well as we go through the next generation. But Xbox themselves will probably want it at a price point that, yes, will be luxurious and expensive, because they don't want to subsidize these pieces of hardware nearly as much as they used to back in the day, because this just isn't the strategy to win. It used to be about the exclusives. It used to be about getting as many consoles into people's homes as possible, because that would be the only place that you could go and purchase the software through. But now, because that has completely opened up, the game has changed. They can put these prices out for the consoles at a higher price, subsidize it less, and make more money per unit sold of each console, which would eventually lead to probably less consoles sold because it will be expensive and cut people out, where consoles generally did appeal for their lower cost, their convenience, and all of those things. So double the price will be interesting depending on what the PS6 does come out at. But we're also hearing that the PlayStation 6 is going to have the dual SKU that Xbox had this generation that everybody complained about. Will be interesting to see if the journalists and the gamers out there who complained about the Xbox dual SKUs would complain the same about PlayStation 6 if they do have that handheld and they do have a console, which you would assume the games have to be developed for and be able to run on both of them if they want to have that hybrid Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2 style of connectivity. So we'll see what happens there, but I'm really liking the direction it is sounding like Xbox is going here. They're just going to make it easier for developers to develop their game. The Xbox Store version is just the PC version that they're going to be putting on other storefronts. So you pick it up via the Xbox Store, you're playing it on your console, you're playing it on your PC, you're playing it on your handheld. It's just one singular game, and it just increases access and gives gamers more choice. So I'm excited about this. Hopefully we get an announcement of some sort soon. Maybe at this year's Game Awards, that's where they first announced the Xbox Series X. And that was a shocker because I don't think a lot of people saw that coming. Maybe we'll get another one of those shockers this year as one of the major announcements from Xbox during the Game Awards. Helldivers 2 has landed on Xbox, and the discussions surrounding the sales is nonstop. Did it sell well on Xbox? Right now, we have no official confirmation. We're getting numbers from these analytical websites that people have shat on previously if it didn't fit their narratives, and now they're propping them up. But from these companies, it does look like Helldivers 2 did sell well on Xbox. I'm sure we will get more numbers from Arrowhead themselves at some point, or via financial reports from PlayStation where they specifically show how much did sell on Xbox. But we have another report here about Helldivers 2. And apparently it actually sold more on Xbox within its first 6 days than it did when it launched on PlayStation. Again, not 100% confirmed, so take this for what you will. But they say here the Xbox launch has been a great plan for Helldivers 2, contributing to the Steam player count in recent days as well. And moreover, Arrowhead has also released the collaboration with Halo ODST alongside this launch, and along with all the content the game has released since launch, may have helped push more players over the edge. Now, the new sales details of Helldivers 2 on Xbox have been revealed. This is spotted by Game Rant, and the latest from Alinea Insights or Alinea Analytics. Again, this is a company that people thought did not have accurate numbers on previous types of sales, I believe with Final Fantasy 16, but now apparently they do. So again, take it with a grain of salt. They say Helldivers 2 has sold 926,000 copies on Xbox in the first 6 days, which is a very good number if this is correct, compared to Helldivers 2's PlayStation launch last year. It had only sold 633,000 copies in its first 6 days. So that is massive if this is true. Regardless of what the official number is, I do believe Helldivers 2 did sell well on Xbox, and I do believe PlayStation is going to look at that and think, yeah, we need to bring more games to Xbox because the gamers do buy games, contrary to what the fanboy narratives that are put out there say. And they can make a couple more million, multiple millions, tens of millions of dollars off of another platform, especially right now where they've canceled so many of their games as a service games. They need to be able to subsidize their big cinematic third-person action adventure games in multiple different ways. This is an easy way. And I'm sure it didn't cost that much to port this game over to the Xbox platform. It couldn't have been that hard simply because you take a look at what's under the hood of PlayStation versus what's under the hood of an Xbox console, virtually the exact same. Same architecture, same chipsets. There isn't very much difference there. So I can't see them really putting tons of money into actually having to port this thing over. And then they instantly make tens of millions of dollars off of the copies sold here from the Xbox players who bought the game. Plus, if you're paying all the microtransactions, and especially in a game like Helldivers 2 where there are those, it's just a win-win for PlayStation. So PlayStation games, I think, will do very well. I feel like you would see the exact same thing happen on Xbox as you saw happen on PlayStation, where PlayStation releases their games on Xbox. Those games will be at the top of the charts, just like Xbox games were at the top of the charts of PlayStation when those games did drop. Another thing that is very helpful for games is Xbox Game Pass. One game that was split when it came out. A lot of people disliked it. Other people loved it. Was Dragon Age: The Veilguard. And it did drop into Game Pass just in August. And because of that, it is actually doing very, very good. I feel like this could be something that EA looks at as a way to kind of revitalize this game, maybe make a bit more money off of it that they previously thought they would have had when it first launched, which obviously they didn't hit the mark there. But the game has gained over 1,500% more players on Game Pass, and this is directly related to it dropping into the service. I actually jumped into Dragon Age the Veilguard briefly. I played through the very first mission, where all the way up until you unlock that first achievement to the game. And I think the game looks good, and I think the combat is phenomenal. Obviously, I'm not really sold yet on the characters. That will yet to be foreseen as I play through more, but it was fun. And I could see myself definitely going back in and continuing this game once I'm finished up with the other stuff that I'm currently playing. And that's all because the game did drop into Xbox Game Pass. So Game Pass continues to prove that if you have a game dropping into the service, especially after maybe didn't have as hot of a launch as you expected to, it is going to do well, and people are going to try it out and maybe bring it back to where the developers thought it would be when it did officially launch. Handheld gaming, PC gaming specifically, is growing more and more. I can't wait to see the Xbox ROG Ally when it does drop and get it in my hands and everything. One of the things that the Helldivers 2 CEO has discussed is Steam Deck support, which again, raising hopes here for more games dropping into the handheld space. I would love to see all games launch on these PC handhelds and run well, optimize well for them, because it's just again another avenue, and it's very convenient now, especially I think for adults. More than anything, these handheld gaming devices are extremely convenient. If you have kids, you have a job, but you have an hour maybe at the end of the night to play and you're tired, you want to lay in bed, these things come in very, very handy. But they say here, Giorgiani, who is the CEO here of Arrowhead, Shams Giorgiani, has commented on the chances of Helldivers 2 properly running on the Steam Deck. And here is what he says about this. We want to primarily get the game working well on the system requirements we target. If we make that happen, Steam Deck will improve as well. Then we might consider formally supporting it more. So it definitely looks towards them potentially trying this out, potentially getting more games to run the handhelds. And I think a lot of developers look at it this way. This is why when you take a look at the Xbox Series S, and we're going forward into the next generation of handhelds, especially coming from Xbox, they already have a version of the game running on a lower spec hardware that is comparable to these handhelds, that they can take and optimize better. And I think you'll get better experiences. As we know, Xbox is also pushing out their own Steam Deck style certified page on their Xbox app to let you know if games do run well on the handheld. So hopefully we get more developers really thinking about this. Right now, there's plenty of games to play on these handhelds, but I would love to see them taking it into consideration when they're developing their games from the beginning. That is one of the things that has to happen. You look at the lowest SKU. If you can get it running on that, then you scale it up to the higher end PCs and everything, and then everybody gets to jump in and play these games. Hollow Knight Silksong, it launched and everything stopped for everyone. In fact, it's doing so well, it actually hurt the stores. Like, the stores were unable to work. People weren't able to purchase the game because everybody was jumping in to play Hollow Knight Silksong. Not a shocker whatsoever, but we have some examples here as to exactly what happened. They say Hollow Knight Silksong launch hammer Steam, Xbox, PlayStation, and the Nintendo stores. Many players unable to purchase it or able to download it. I think it's probably fine now if you try to get in there, but we see some of these videos here saying Silksong release just crashed the Steam store. 100,000 players within 30 minutes of its release on Steam. You got a picture here of Steam. You also have a picture here of the Nintendo Switch eShop that you just couldn't get the game or download it because everybody was jumping in to play it on the Switch and the Switch 2. They say here this Silksong was hammering Steam, Nintendo, Xbox, and the PlayStation Store. We got some pictures of the Xbox Store and it not working. Nintendo eShop crashing for an indie game made by 3 people. I actually love it. You're getting that error code pop up here. And in fact, you take a look right now. This is, as I'm filming this video, could even be higher right now, but the all-time peak for this game at this moment when I'm looking at it hit 535,213 players. So massive, massive win here for Hollow Knight. So it's not a shocker whatsoever. This is just, to me, such a good story for gaming, just because you have a developer out here, small developer, and they put this game out. There's so much anticipation for it. They put it out at a very reasonable price. They obviously could have sold this game for far more and made way more money off of it. They're clearly developing this up for the love of making video games. And now you're seeing the success. It just flies in the face of any of those narratives of people who think that it's only the AAA games that can do this type of stuff. AAA games, in my opinion, are far less interesting in many ways than what we are seeing with games like this, with a lot more creativity, great gameplay, and a community behind it that backs it and makes it exciting. So I think as of right now, this is a success story for Team Cherry, but also just I think a success story for gaming in general. And I would love to see more of the stuff. These indie games that come out here and just blow the top off of the gaming industry because of the games being very good and very gameplay mechanic focused. So that is another thing here. You don't need to have all of the flashy actors and cutscenes and all this stuff to have a game be successful. I hope AAA studios take a look at this and try to emulate what Hollow Knight Silksong has been able to do, just in the way that they went about releasing this game, the pricing, and giving gamers what they were looking for. And finally, EA Sports. We were potentially going to get a college basketball game. EA Sports was going to jump back into the basketball game realm. Looks like it's not happening. 2K just has such a stranglehold on the basketball video game market. They say here, this was first supported by Matt Brown of Extra Points. EA's decision to no longer move forward with college basketball game comes from schools deciding to move forward with 2K's competing proposal. So I guess they were competing with getting the licenses for all these schools, and most of the moment 2K, they probably just look at the numbers and how many people play 2K. NBA from EA, it doesn't even have a game anymore. So why would you go and trust EA to make a basketball game when you already have a dedicated fan base in 2K? But they say here, given there are some schools choosing to accept the 2K sports proposal for inclusion in NBA 2K, the offer to be included in a college basketball video game will unfortunately have to be rescinded. Everyone at EA Sports is disappointed that we all couldn't find an acceptable path forward, but we appreciate your support in trying to bring a standalone college basketball game with all men's and women's Division I institutions and student athletes, conferences, as well as the NCAA in a way that fans have told us they want. We really appreciate your support. EA is backing up. I kind of sad about this. I think it would be great if EA could try to make another basketball game so that we can get that competition back in that genre where it's not just 2K every year, and then you would have both games pushing each other forward, kind of like what we are seeing with Battlefield 6, jumping back in with a strong offering and pushing Call of Duty. But that's it for me. I will end the video there. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up. If you are new here, hit that subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Thank you.